I came across this video recently. I haven't actually watched it yet, but I do want to go over it. Why Christian nationalism is dangerous. So, for those that don't know, I want to give the perspective of this, especially as somebody who grew up with some of this rhetoric, as I used to be a Christian. And I also very much bought into the narrative of things like, oh, we're a Christian nation and the founding fathers were Christian and all these different things, right? After learning proper history, I learned that that's not true. There's a lot of historical revisionism there, and the way that Christianity became so popular in America specifically was essentially throughout the 50s and 60s to separate us from the godless communists of Russia. That's why we started having "In God We Trust" on our money and things like that. So, and I know that, as I'm sure many of you understand, that the far right is very much kind of propped up by a lot of churches and the evangelical Christian extremists movements of today. And with that in mind, like I said, I haven't actually gone over this yet, but it's definitely something that stood out to me and something that I wanted to go over. So with that in mind, we are going to do just that.
My Patreon producers. If you'd like to become a Patreon producer, you can
you've ever
at patreon.com/Mason Meninga.
think of the worst movie you've ever.
Oh God. Okay, I can absolutely relate to this shit. Pure Flix. Oh my God, I ate this shit up as a middle schooler and high schooler. I remember God's Not Dead. I remember fucking oh my God, Fireproof. Oh God, let me all right, we're going to go down memory lane here a little bit. Let's find out what are some movies that I saw that I remember. What? I said Pure Flix. What are these? Aren't Pure Flix? What? Hold up. None of these are Pure Flix. Oh shit, hang on. Just discover here, movie list. We'll go with that. Okay. No, I just go away. I just want to see. Oh my God, I can't. Hang on. I'm going to find these. I'm going to find these. Just watch? Maybe. I just want to find like a. Oh, man. They made a lot more movies than I even knew they did. Holy shit. All right, we're just going to look up this movie. What? Not Saved by. Well, there was a movie. There was a movie called The Grace Card. But wait, wasn't there a movie called To Save a Life, which was kind of fucked up actually? But I absolutely ate this shit up. There was a movie. There were all kind of movies like this. I don't think I've seen Nothing Is Impossible. There was a movie about cops where it was called like Courageous. And all of these, of course, essentially work to. Well, I'm sure they're probably going to get into it in this video here, but all of these essentially work to kind of both provide this kind of Christian nationalist propaganda, or in the case of Courageous, propaganda, as well as promoting a very Christian message. And I want to be clear, nothing inherently wrong with the morals that they kind of teach to an extent. Some of them are a bit fucked, especially if we look at movies like, oh God, what was that? I don't know what it was called. Unplanned. Yeah. Let me find. Well, there's Meant to Be, which is probably the same kind of thing, but let's see here. In these movies, though, they depict, and there was a person who does really good videos on these. I can't remember. Oh, Renegade Cut. Renegade. That's not the guy. Oh, it is the guy. Okay. Renegade Cut does really good videos on this stuff. He looked at the God's Not Dead series. He looks at a ton of different political and religious stuff, films and otherwise media. And yeah, a lot of this stuff is absolutely, propaganda of some sort. And you know, it is what it is. But yeah, these are absolutely things that I, I mean, I ate this stuff up. I was a young middle schooler and then high schooler who, they had in that To Save a Life movie that I showed earlier, they played To Save a Life by Flyleaf throughout the trailer and in the movie. In God's Not Dead, they played the song God's Not Dead by Newsboys, all these different things. And just the way that these were written, the way they were performed, directed, produced, they were cultivated for an audience of people like myself. And God, did it work. Holy shit, did it work. But anyway, it's enough of a trip down memory lane.
Ever seen. Now think of the worst music you've ever heard.
I also ate up all this shit too. I believe this is Seventh Time Down is the band. This is the Afters. This is their Life is Beautiful record. I still listen to some of the Afters today. I do like their music in general. See, okay, so I liked a lot of this Christian media for the same reason that I liked things like a lot of pop punk and more kind of like emo music, as it were, in that it kind of felt like it met me where I was at with a lot of, and was very relatable with different issues that I was experiencing. And it also, honestly, it like kind of reconfirmed my biases about my religion and things like that. But I mean, this music really spoke to me. These movies really spoke to me. This shit was made for people like me who were growing up in suburbia, who were very involved in their youth group, all those different things. And these movies, they depict non-believers as these evil people and all these different things. And I now understand, especially being one myself now, that non-believers are just people that just don't believe. I never saw too much of an issue with people who had different religions. In To Save a Life, there was a girl who was Islamic, and her father was very traditional. He like forced her to wear her hijab and stuff like that. Now, I don't agree with stuff like that because it's a type of suppression and such anyway. But of course, the message in that was that Jesus saved her, and she read the Bible and learned all these things, and of course, it's going to have that kind of message. And anyway, this stuff just, I don't know who Jonathan Nelson is. Oh, this is the Fray, isn't it? I'll bet this is the Fray. And I remember Amy Grant, all these people. What is this, Seventh Time Down? Or no, this isn't Seventh Time Down. This is oh my god, what is that band? I don't remember what band, but I know this record because I had a lot of this music and still do in different music playlists that I have. There are a few main playlists that I have for my music, and I use YouTube and YouTube Music for all my music. Let me go through these real quick. My three main playlists that I have for my music are as follows: Musical Therapy, Music for Love, and that's like love songs and shit. And then we have Moving On, and then we have like a bunch of bands and stuff that I listen to and cool stuff. But yeah, I can't remember what was it. Audio Adrenaline. It was one of those bands. I don't remember, but I know this record. Oh no, I think it was. Oh my god, they had. I don't even want to know what that auto suggestion was about. Oh, Building 429. That's what the band was. I really liked Building 429 as well. I'm pretty sure that, is that with, I'm sorry, I have to find out real quick. God damn it. Ironic, I know. Building 400. What is that? Yes, it is. We won't be shaken. Oh my god, all of this shit just it hits so hard. Like I said, I fell for this. And look, I was born in 97. I was growing up in the 2000s and the 2010s, which is when all this stuff was really gaining its popularity. I still like bands today like Reliant K. I still think they have a lot of good music. I think The Afters has a lot of good music. I think a lot of these bands have a lot of good music, and I think that you can, even if you aren't religious or you are a different religion, you can still get a message of hope and positivity in these songs separated from the religious aspect. But that's not really what we're talking about. We're only 14 minutes in, or 14 seconds into this video, and I've had so much. Oh my god, this is like, wow, holy shit, this is just bringing back so much for me.
What's the one thing they all have in common? That's right, they're all Christian. So why would a Christian nation be any different? That means we should stop trusting people who unironically watch God's Not Dead and listen to Skillet because they think
Skillet's a pretty good band too. I'm sorry, Skillet's a kind of cool hard rock band. They I don't know, they just are. I don't think that, I want to be clear on this as well. I don't think that these guys' religious beliefs makes them inherently bad people or anything like that. Again, I believe this stuff. A lot of people still believe this stuff. I have close friends and family that still believe this stuff. And while I'm sure I'll make a video specifically on my deconstruction of Christianity at some point and how I left my faith, it's valid to a lot of people that do believe this stuff. And I care way more about who you are as a person and how you choose to live your life and treat others than I do if you believe in some sky daddy or anything like that. So I want to be clear on that. He might be being a little bit uncharitable to Christians. He might have his reasons for doing so, though. But even still, I think if you watch these movies on their own, you listen to this music, anything, I don't think that makes you inherently a bad person or anything like that. I don't listen to this stuff or watch this stuff anymore for the most part. Like I said, I'll hear the odd, Skillet song or anything like that, or any of these other bands and stuff, but I don't follow, well, I actually do follow them on Instagram and stuff. But other than that, I don't like actually keep up with their content or anything like that anymore.
a Christian nation would be good too. Besides being people with shitty tastes in movies and music, these people are also Christian nationalists. You may have heard of Christian nationalism more recently. There even seems to be a recent rise of Christian nationalism. There are new books even explicitly promoting Christian nationalism.
Okay, so from my understanding, and I believe people like Vosh have even talked about them, Stephen Wolf is actually a Nazi, from what I remember. No, that was Stephen Molyneux, but I'm pretty sure. Hang on a minute. It's only Hitler's calling Christ. No, okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting him mixed up with other people. Okay, I think I've heard the name. Do I know who this is, actually? Okay, let's take Nazi out. Do I know this guy? I don't know this guy. Well, I don't even know which of these guys is the right one. Oh, it must be this guy. The Case for Christian. Yeah, I don't know this guy. I feel like I've heard the name, but it might just be one of those names that sounds like a name you've heard. I'm sure you guys have names like that. Anyway, my bad. Continuing on.
And conservative politicians who once were more subtle about expressing Christian nationalism are much more explicit about it. However, Christian nationalism isn't new by any means.
When was this made? Oh, 8 days ago. Shit.
It has a long history in America. Nonetheless, it poses a dangerous threat to humanity and the planet. It is especially dangerous in terms of aging well. My God, Christian nationalism is like the opposite of Botox. So regardless if you are a Christian or not, you should know about what Christian nationalism is and why it is so dangerous. I'm Mason Menega, and today I'll be talking about 2 reasons why Christian nationalism is so dangerous. Before we jump in, be sure to like and subscribe. All right,
Aren't you guys glad I do this at the end of my videos? This is a really small thing, I'm sorry, but I hate when people do either at the beginning or the end of their video where they're like, oh, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Like okay, cool. I get that you need to do that. We all need to do that because it helps the algorithm, but do it at the end of the video. Same thing with sponsors and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know. That's me. You know, that's a pet peeve. That's a nitpick I have.
Notifications, and also let me know what you think about the video in the
and I'll tell you one I really hate. Fucking hate. Have you seen the one? I'm sure you've seen the ones where, you know, they'll be like, our analytics show that 50% of our watchers aren't actually subscribed. Why don't you subscribe and help the like? Fuck. I'm sorry. I just don't like it. It's just so cringe to me.
Comments. All right, a couple disclaimers.
But I get it. We all got to play the game
before starting. First, Christian nationalism is a huge topic, so don't be upset if this short video doesn't cover it completely. There are some good books that I've linked in the description.
And don't be upset if this video doesn't cover it completely either. I'm sure it won't.
If you want smarter people talking about Christian nationalism than my dumb face talking to you about it.
I don't think his face is dumb. Do you guys think it's... Well, okay, that's a bad frame to pause on.
Second,
okay. Do you guys think his face is dumb? Let me know in the comments. I don't think his face is dumb.
Disclaimer is that I will be talking exclusively about American Christian nationalism. There is Christian nationalism all around the world, but I am most interested and concerned about American Christian nationalism. Perhaps the shittiest of all Christian nationalism. Alright, so before talking about why Christian nationalism is so dangerous, we probably should talk about what Christian nationalism even is. It essentially boils down to Christianity-affiliated nationalism. That seems very obvious, so what then is nationalism? It is the promotion of one group's interests in a particular nation. So for American Christian nationalism, it is the promotion of specific Christians' interests in America, especially Christians who have hair that looks like ramen noodles. That caveat of specific Christians is important, as I'll talk about later. So with that definition, what is it that
Wait a minute, was that him? Younger?
Especially...
Is that him? No, that's not him.
Christians who have hair that looks like ramen noodles. That caveat
kind of looks like whatever. Okay, I'm sorry. We have to just real quick break down what nationalism actually is. Identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment or interest of other nations. This part is the key, because if you just have that first part, even the part that, sorry, what was his name? Something Mulligan, Magnum, Mason, Menenga. Mason. So even what Mason just said there is still a very overly nice way of defining nationalism. See, I used to think very errantly that nationalism just meant patriotism, meant you were proud of your country, meant you, appreciated and supported your country, and good for you. I think patriotism is kind of cringe because you could just as easily be born anywhere else, but you do you. However, that part about the exclusion or detriment of others is absolutely key. So, to put this in context, what nationalism is specifically is having that pride in your country, but also thinking that you're better than other countries and thinking, hey, if we have to hurt other countries to prop up our own, so be it. And Christian nationalism takes us a step further because, and I'll see if we can actually find a definition for Christian nationalism specifically here. Let's find out. We have a Wikipedia article. Christian nationalism is Christianity-affiliated religious nationalism. Christian nationalists primarily focus on internet. Okay, great. Basically, what it comes down to is that when you put the Christian part with the nationalism, you get that same mentality that America is better than all other countries, and if we have to hurt other countries to prop up our own, then so be it. With that added effect of we are God's chosen people, which adds this mindset that many people have to say we're doing God's work. It's okay that we're hurting other nations, we're propping up our own because we're the best. And why are we the best? Because we're on God's side. There's a great quote. This is one of the big things that actually helped me with deconstructing my religion. I think it was, I can't remember who. No. Was it Christopher Hitchens? Or, oh, it's Stephen Weinberg that said it. Okay. I love this quote. Without religion, good people can behave well and bad people can do evil. But for good people to do evil, that takes religion. And again, I might go over this more specifically when I talk about my deconstruction altogether. But that was something that really struck me to my core and opened my eyes to how I had been living and treating other people, because there were so many things that I would do that I would morally not think were correct, but were things that my religion told me to do. You know, things like invalidate LGBTQ people. That was the big one. I was pretty progressive on most other things. Yeah, I never slut shamed. I never I was always kind of against purity culture even before I left religion. But I never did those things. I did believe in my mind that people who didn't believe what I believe were going to go to hell, because that's what we're taught to believe. But really, the big thing was for me, it caused me to invalidate LGBTQ people, which is an evil thing.
Of specific Christians is important, as I'll talk about later. So with that definition, what is it that Christian nationalists want and believe? American Christian nationalists want to take back America for God. They believe America was founded as a Christian nation, even though
it wasn't.
Many of the founding fathers were deists, not Christians, and one even tore out the pages in the Bible where Jesus did miracles. And I'm sure Christian nationalists are famous for not literally believing the miracles Jesus did.
Sure, Jan.
So they believe America was founded as a Christian nation, and at some point America began to lose what they believe was its Christian foundations. So they hope to return America back to its good old days, like when men wore wigs and tights. This is why statements like "Make America Great Again" are so powerful.
Another thing, by the way, that was always a big thing, even in the early founding of America, that Christian nationalists love to go against, is the right to abortion, to the point where oh, come on. Really? All right. Benjamin Franklin, I'm sorry, not Thomas Jefferson. Please don't make me pay for this one. Benjamin Franklin is revered in history for his fixation on inventing practical ways to make everyday life easier. He was a prophetic inventor and author, spent his life tinkering and writing to share his knowledge with the masses. One of the more surprising areas Franklin wanted to demystify for the average Americans, at-home abortions. There were instructions on how to perform an abortion, an in-home abortion, in like basic manuals for how to live life in early America. It is so enriched into our history, but Christian nationalists are so against it now, even though our founding fathers were very supportive of it.
powerful for them because they really believe there was a time America was great and then it lost its ways and they want to return it to its supposed greatness. The power of American Christian nationalism manifests in many ways, but one notable way is that 90% of Congress is Christian. Certainly.
So just real quick on this, I want to do a shameless plug here. I did my own video about this where I talked about look at that, we're almost at the funny number, 68 subscribers. I had actually done a video about the good old days and the reality that the good old days really aren't that good. The concept of the good old days is really a myth that a lot of people have. It's very easy to get blinded by nostalgia and think that what you are, think that a time that either was when you were a kid or before you even existed, in some people's cases, in a lot of people's cases, that those times were just better than they are now, and that we need to return to tradition and so on and so forth. But it's all bullshit.
Certainly not all Christians in Congress are Christian nationalists, but in a nation where only 65% of people are Christian, this disproportionate representation of Christians is indicative of how much Christian nationalism influences America's most powerful leaders. And
true, you can't run for office successfully, as in you won't get far. You wouldn't get to, especially the president, probably even a governor, without at least saying and every now and then referring to Christianity. I mean, hell, look at people like Donald Trump. Do you think he really is a Christian? Mr. Oh, what are your 2 favorite books in the Bible? What, or not, no, I'm sorry. What's your favorite? Oh, it's too personal. I don't really want to get it. Well, do you prefer Old or New Testament? Equal. Oh, or how he says 2 Corinthians. Let me find. Look at this shit, right?
Okay. You mentioned the Bible. You've been talking about how it's your favorite book. And you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that. I'm wondering what 1 or 2 of your most favorite Bible verses are,
well,
and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. When I talk about the Bible, it's very personal. So I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into.
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that you like?
No, I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. I think it's just an incredible, the whole Bible is an incredible, I joke very much so. They always hold up the Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time. But I just think the Bible is just something very special.
Christ. Yeah. Oh, equal. Come on, man. Anybody that actually knows anything about Christianity and the Bible and all that stuff knows that you're insane if you're going to say something like that. I can tell you my favorite verse, what my favorite verse was. It's actually my dad's favorite verse too, I believe. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Good verse. I did have another verse that I liked a lot as well that was very personal to me, but I don't really want to get into it. It's too I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'd have to go through my old Bible app if I even could find it. I mean, I deleted the app, but I might have an account or something. I'm not sure how that works actually. But I did have another verse that I really liked. I had a lot of verses that I used to highlight and save and stuff, but I don't remember. I do like that one though a lot.
In such a small group, having...
It's funny, though, because, if you don't... Okay, you know what the actual answer is if you don't actually have a favorite specific verse? This is your answer. If you don't actually know what you're talking about. Trump could have even said this. I like John 3:16. It's the whole ball game, which actually it is. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. However, I think it is equally important, just real quick, that we also talk about John 3:17, For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. I think that that is an equally important verse, and that people should absolutely start saying, if they actually know the Bible and stuff, that they love John 3:16 and 17, or John 3:16 through 17, something like that. But anyway, the point is, Christianity is so ingrained into the American culture that even somebody like Trump, who clearly doesn't know shit about the Bible, has to at least put on this show and act like he does.
More representation than they should is like when your friend tells a joke that you just told, but they get the laugh because they told it louder. Because of this disproportionate representation of Christian nationalism in America's federal government, popular political policies for reproductive rights, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, and rights for people of color are often not supported because a few small Christian nationalists have much more power than their size would indicate that they have.
Absolutely true. 100% true. And I've tried this. The reality is, people that legitimately believe in souls and that life begins at conception, even though the Bible even says that life begins at the first breath, and I have to point this out too, the test for an unfaithful wife. This blew my fucking mind when I first read this. I thought, of course, as many people do, that obviously the Bible condemns abortion, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to read through this whole verse, but essentially what this comes down to is, if you believe that your wife has been unfaithful to you, you can take her to the priest. What the priest will do is they will mix a concoction in water and have the wife drink it. If she was unfaithful, this is of course when she's pregnant, if she was unfaithful, she will have a miscarriage, ergo an abortion. If she was faithful, the abortion won't be successful and she'll carry the child. It was even fucking done in the Bible. There are instructions for it in the Bible. It was mind-blowing to read that kind of shit. And this is something that I will definitely go through if I ever make that video about my deconstruction and deconversion of Christianity in general. But just to get into it real quick, I started it by reading the Bible. Like, what I did was I said, all right, I'm going to read through the entire Bible. And I even followed a commentary track which broke down and explained things that I didn't really understand, all through the Holy Bible app that you can get on the App Store. And I found myself having to constantly go back to this website called gotanswers.org, where it's basically Christian apologetics. And I found myself constantly having to go back to that. And eventually I realized I shouldn't have to constantly find apologetics for what I believe. Like, if the Bible is true, then it should hold up to truth and stand up against scrutiny. What am I so afraid of looking on the other side, as it were, right? Looking at the claims of evolution and other world religions and all this stuff. So anyway, stuff that I might get into more specifically in the future, but yeah, stuff absolutely blew my mind years ago.
In other words, Christian nationalists compensate in other ways for their lack of size. It's like the political version of throttling a big pickup truck in front of unimpressed onlookers. Alright, so if it already isn't obvious enough why Christian nationalism is so dangerous, one reason why it's so dangerous is, first and foremost, Christian nationalism kills people and the planet. As I mentioned before,
True.
Christian nationalism manifests in many ways, and some of those ways indirectly kills people and the planet. For example, Christian nationalism has largely influenced policy on reproductive rights, even though the majority of Americans are pro-choice. Abortion is now not nationally protected as a right, partly because of the influence Christian nationalism plays in state and federal politics. This results in many people who need abortions either forced to give birth and not having the quality of life they otherwise would, or in some cases, forcing them to give birth that would kill them. Christian nationalism also indirectly kills the planet, in part because of its unbridled support of capitalism and its beliefs about creation and the end times.
It also is part of the reason we have a very odd relationship with Israel, because they believe that in order to essentially trigger the end times, trigger the rapture eventually, the Bible says something about the nation of Israel is rebuilt. Let me see if I can find it. End times, nation of... It's something like that. What is it? Each prophecy... What's Israel's role? Oh, here we go, right? GodQuestions.org. This is the website I was talking about earlier. What's Israel's role in the end times? There will be terrible conflict in Israel during the end times, this period known as tribulation, the Great Tribulation, time of Jericho, yada, yada, yada. Oh, yeah, basically the second coming of Christ. Persecutors of Israel will come and go. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, basically, America kind of props up Israel because of essentially wanting to trigger the end times.
Many Christian nationalists believe in a dominion theology, where humans are to have dominion over all creation. Essentially, they believe that humans are to do with the natural world as they please because they have dominion over it.
That's true as well.
In addition to this belief, many Christian nationalists believe in some type of rapture theology, where the world will basically have to go to shit in order for Jesus to return. Because I'm sure Jesus would love nothing more than a welcome back party where his house is where the party's at and it's completely destroyed when he gets there. Pair these theological beliefs together with capitalism, where one is to accumulate capital, which includes things from the natural world, then Christian nationalists have a perfect recipe for the destruction of the planet. But Christian nationalism doesn't just indirectly kill people and the planet, it also directly kills. In many ways, the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot was a pivotal event for Christian nationalism. While not all who rioted were Christian nationalists, Christian nationalism was on full display and led much of the riot, which ultimately killed 7 people. In addition to the Capitol riot, many of the right-wing extremist mass shooters over recent years in America have expressed Christian nationalist beliefs. For example, the Buffalo, New York mass shooter in May of 2022 posted an online manifesto prior to the shooting that expressed standard Christian nationalist beliefs, even though he admitted not to being a Christian.
And I want to be clear on this too, especially for any Christians that may be watching. But just generally speaking, I'm not one of those people that necessarily believes religion, or especially Christianity, corrupts entirely or anything like that. Nothing like that. Like I said, I very much believe that your actions and how you treat others is way more important than who you do or don't pray to. What I will say in regards to the idea that basically it kind of goes back to that. So there are a lot of people that will use Christianity and Christian nationalism, and they might not even actually be Christian. Like, who was that guy? And this guy actually was a Nazi. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's like a kid. I mean, he's not a kid, but he acts like a child. Noah? No, fuck, what's his name? Let me find out. It's not Charlie Kirk, but he would fit the bill too. Oh my god, what is that? What is that? Oh my god, what is it called? Nick Fuentes. His name is Nick Fuentes. Just came to me. Nick Fuentes. He claims to be a Catholic and things like that, although he recently has even come out and said, or I don't know how recent it was, but he did also say that he really doesn't believe in the Catholic stuff. He just kind of uses it as a front. Yeah, this is the guy. See why I said he basically a child? Look at this guy. Anyway. Credit where credit's due, though. Doesn't look too bad here. You know, I mean, everyone looks bad with different, certain faces they make. Don't get me wrong, but of course, it's not his appearance. It's the issue. It's the horrible ideology he spreads that's an issue.
Which is a perfect segue to the second reason why Christian nationalism is so dangerous.
Just to be clear, by the way, he was banned off of Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter for being a full-on Nazi. Just to be clear on that, by the way. I'm not just calling him a Nazi. He actually is a Nazi.
Because Christian nationalism...
Not this guy, Fuentes. I just wanted to clear that up before we continue.
...perverts Christianity. I mentioned before that...
I agree with this as well.
Christian nationalism is Christianity-affiliated nationalism, and that it promotes the interests of only specific Christians because Christian nationalism uses Christian language and symbols to seem as if it were Christian when it actually rejects many of the teachings of Jesus and of Christians throughout history. In other words, Christian nationalism is like Mumford & Sons. It seems Christian, but actually isn't. This is why someone like the Buffalo mass shooter will express Christian nationalist beliefs even though he said he wasn't a Christian. But he is not the only Christian nationalist like this. In fact, many Christian nationalists are just like Donald Trump in that they use generic Christian language, but are not overly religious themselves.
2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17. That's the whole ball game.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
All right, I have to, real quick. What is 2 Corinthians 2:17? For we are not as many which corrupt the word of God, but as of sincerity, but as of God. Is this New King? This is King James Version. Fuck. Bible Gateway, there we go. New NIV. People that actually are modern and read the Bible know that's what you read. Or the, oh my god, is it called Living Word version or something, where they make it like explicitly try to be like hip and shit? Is that the one? It's like, oh no, I'm sorry, New Living Translation. That's the one. Oh, well, all right. Well, you can change. I like this. I like that you can change the versions here, and you can even change the languages here. That's really cool. Anyway, whatever. Sticking with NIV. Unlike so many, we do not peddle. By the way, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard it said that apparently the NIV was actually translated by a prostitute. I don't know if that's true or not. Here, let's fact check that real quick. Verses about prostitutes, keyword. Okay, maybe that's just like a urban legend or something that someone in my church believed that told me, and it isn't actually true. So yeah, I want to make sure I'm not bullshitting you guys, you know? Anyway, unlike so many, we do not peddle the word of God for profit. On the contrary, in Christ, we speak before God with sincerity as those sent from God. So, that is good. That is important. But it is not the whole ball game. Fucking idiot.
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so.
In fact, studies show that the more people hold Christian nationalist beliefs, the less likely they are to attend church, pray, and read the Bible. Which is bullshit as somebody who did grow up very religiously conservative, because at least I had to know every VeggieTales song and believe the earth is 6,000 years old to be a religious conservative. But now Christian nationalists don't even know the Water Buffalo song or that God put dinosaur bones in the ground to test their faith. So they are essentially...
I love you guys. Those of you that aren't religious, that didn't grow up believing this stuff, you don't know, man. This shit is so spot on. Like, this is the shit I believed too. Man, I remember going to like a theater, and was it actually in theaters? Hold up. No way was it in theaters. No. Wait a minute. No way. Wait a minute. There's no way. Oh, that was 20. Okay, that wasn't the one I saw. It was 2015. That wasn't the one I saw. It was back in like 2004, 2005, something like that. Anyway, I remember seeing the VeggieTales rendition of the Noah's Ark, like in theaters or something. I don't know. I didn't watch much of VeggieTales growing up, but when I did, man, it fucking slaps. I mean, let's be real. Look, and this is the thing, and I love that this guy is talking about it, and he's even saying it perverts Christianity, and that this version of Christianity isn't what Christianity actually is. And I will say, that is something as well that I had to fight with and contend with and fight against, being a Christian who was more progressive years ago. It's something that I absolutely had to fight against. I remember I knew people who would tell me things like Trump. What was it like? Trump is God's man in the White House and stuff like that. And I didn't really feel one way or the other about him back then. But sure, whatever, dude. If that's what you want to say, okay. But he's right that this is a perversion of Christianity, because there's a lot of stuff in Christianity that I loved that is a lot more progressive. It is said, kind of as a joke, but kind of true as well, that Jesus was the first socialist. Yeah, I agree. In fact, I always used to say Jesus was the first hippie. Why? Because he had long hair, he taught about peace and love and all those different things, right? And, well, at least he was depicted with long hair. Of course, the way that Jesus actually would have looked isn't the white man depiction we often have of him. He certainly wasn't European. I love the... Here, let me find the meme, by the way. I love this. Come on, really? Can I find the meme? I love this. Look at this. So there I was, the only white guy in Jerusalem. Oh my god. Yeah, this is so true. If you're mad about Little Mermaid, isn't that she isn't white, wait until you find out about Jesus. Oh, Jesus was the first race swap of a fictional character. Yeah, he would have more likely looked like this. Good shit. Fucking.
Using Christian language and symbols exclusively to take over the government.
Sorry, but I wanted to say though some of the progressive ideas. Man, I remember really liking and getting into this idea. Like one of the last sermons and stories that I had listened to before I left, which was, I mean, really it was because of COVID. My church shut down and I was kind of I was left to my own devices, and eventually I, went toward the truth. But that's a whole other thing. One of the last messages that I had in my young adult small group was this message of Jesus helping this woman who was on her period, but it was like really, really bad. Like she was just constantly like bleeding everywhere, and people said she was unclean, all these different things. But she went up to him and touched his robe, and he had this like really nice moment with her and really humanized her, and it was just such a cool thing. And I was like, holy shit, Jesus was... I mean, I didn't think this at the time, but I mean, like the way that I didn't think this terminology, but the way that I thought about it was essentially, Jesus was hella based. He was like super progressive and feminist and shit, and he was very, progressive for women and all these different things. And there are a lot of good messages like that in the Bible, absolutely. So I like that this guy is even mentioning that the version of Christianity that Christian nationalism follows and purports is a perversion of, I don't know if I want to say true Christianity, because there's a great video about this that I highly recommend, and I recommend these people's channel in general. The Search for the True Christian, in which they really break down this idea of, oh, you're not a real Christian. That's not real Christianity. It's good shit. Highly recommend. Also, highly recommend Believe It or Not in general.
To advance their political agenda, and they will quite literally take over the government, as January 6th clearly demonstrated. So if Christian nationalists are using Christian language and symbols only to advance their political agenda, then Christian nationalism is dangerous in part because it perverts what Jesus was all about. It has nothing to do with following Jesus.
The Nazis did that too, by the way. They perverted Christianity, and more specifically Catholicism, and oh boy, this is... This is what the swastika originally was. It is the Buddhist symbol for peace. Apparently, Hitler looked up at a church, a Buddhist church, saw the symbol, thought it was just like a misshapen cross, and decided to appropriate it. But Nazis, authoritarians, love taking this shit and appropriating it. But yeah, Buddhist symbol for peace. Completely ruined now, because now everyone associates it with the fucking swastika. I wonder if these fuckers are going to do the same thing to the Christian cross. Guess only time will tell.
It is simply nationalist politics with religious language added to it. It's like worship music is just U2 songs, except the lyric "you" is referring to God and not a girl.
I pointed this out. I remember I was in a church service and I pointed this out to somebody, one of the people in my church service, where I noticed, I said, have you ever noticed that a lot of these songs are, these worship songs, they're just love songs, except they're directed toward God instead of, well, yeah, instead of a girl, instead of a person that you love. Because, they're love songs for men too, or directed toward men. And they were like, well, that's what worship is. Worship is love. I'm like, no, but like, you know what I mean, don't you? I remember putting those pieces together and realizing that, and that was very interesting to me as well. I think it's one of the reasons I liked it so much. One of the reasons I got so enveloped in the church that I went to was because I really unironically liked Christian rock, because it was rock and roll, which I already really liked and gravitated toward, and it had this Christian message that my parents, and especially my dad, were super cool and supportive of. And when I went to a church that played that kind of music, I was like, I really like this. This is really fucking great. Sucked me in.
And I'm not saying Christian nationalism isn't Christian. It is distinctly Christian, but I believe Christians can totally get wrong what Jesus was all about. And I'm also not saying Christianity shouldn't be mixed with politics. I think Christianity is inherently political. I just think mixing Christian language and symbols with shitty politics perverts Christianity, and that is dangerous. So there you have it. 2 reasons why Christian nationalism is so dangerous. Christian nationalism is dangerous because it kills people and even the planet, and Christian nationalism perverts Christianity. So Christian nationalism should concern you now, and if nothing else, it should concern you so that we don't have to suffer through any more God's Not Dead movies. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe.
Wait, there aren't 4, I know there are 2. I saw the first one. I never saw the second one. There are not. Are there 4? No way. Whoops. My fucking spell. Is there a 3rd one? No, there's not. Oh, no, there is. Oh, I do remember hearing about this. A Light in the Darkness. But wait, there's not a 4th one, is there? We the People. Jesus Christ! They just got... Wait, no, hold up. Yeah, so there. Okay, so this was the first one, God's Not Dead. Then we had God's Not Dead 2. Then we had God's Not Dead, A Light in the Darkness. Then we had God's Not Dead, We the People. Christ. Can you get any more fucking, like, obvious with that Christian nationalism? Holy shit. I really like this guy's perspective. I'm going to check out a little bit more of his channel in a minute here.
And also tell me what you thought about it in the comments. If you'd like to support more of my work, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Mason Menega. Also check out my podcast,
Menega, I'm sorry, that's how you pronounce it.
A People's Theology, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, to be in your body is to be in God.
I am really interested why you should learn theology to deconstruct your faith. Why humans are religious. Oh God, he only has a few videos and I really like this. 3 reasons you should deconstruct your faith. What Jesus said, I might cover more of his videos. Guys, I really like this video. Please let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to cover more of his content. I might go through the deconstruct your faith videos specifically and talk about my own deconstruction of faith, because I really liked this. Oh my God, this was amazing. Such a good video. Wow. Huh. Okay. Well, yeah. He kind of summed it up there at the end too, but yeah, Christian nationalism is dangerous because I would say differently though than he said. I would say it's, well, kind of what I said in the middle of the video, I think. It's dangerous because nationalism is inherently dangerous, where you're elevating your own country to the point where even if you have to push down on others or other people in your country who disagree with you and your dissent, it takes that and adds the Christian religious framework and makes people believe that they're doing this for God, so therefore it's all justified. Those two things together make it extremely harmful for everybody. Yeah, Christian nationalism is absolutely dangerous. I don't think that Christianity or religion in general or anything like that is necessarily awful. Again, very much believe and am way more concerned about who you are as a person and how you treat others rather than I am what you believe or don't believe, spiritually speaking. But I understand how those spiritual beliefs can lead you to do things and believe things about other people that you wouldn't otherwise. So I understand how that's harmful as well. These are complicated and complex issues, but I definitely like the conversation and the nuanced approach that Mason took here. I really like this. I like this a lot. As always, though, guys, these are just my thoughts. Please let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more, links in the description. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like, and if not, I hope you find something to do like. Peace and love.